Now that you have actually created the form, you need to do two things. You need to be able to share it with your students, and then you need to be able to look at their responses. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. Basically, before you can share with students, you need to make sure that the form settings are set up the way that you need them to be set up. So if you go to the top right of the screen where you have these three dots next to where it says share, you're going to click on that, and you're going to go to where it says settings, and you're going to click on that. Now, all of the forms automatically have it set up so that it will show students their results automatically. Now, what it means by showing students results automatically is they will be able to see every single correct answer for the form. Now, if you do not want students to see all the correct answers because you're concerned about cheating, then you need to make sure that this is not green, where it says option for quiz. If it's informative and you're not as concerned about cheating on this particular one because you're more concerned with if the students are able to see if they're getting it right immediately, then you will want to have this green. It's really going to be your choice and the purposes that you have for the students here. The next thing you need is you need to be able to have it so that our students can actually respond. Now, the automatic settings is only people in my organization can respond. Since our students do not have Microsoft accounts through the school, this is not going to work. So you need to make sure it says anyone with the link can respond. If this is not selected, our students are not going to be able to actually access the form and use it. For some reason, it's not letting me click on that right now, but it could just be a quirk today with the internet. But you want to make sure that this one where it says anyone with the link can respond is selected. Below that, you have other options for responses. It automatically has it set up that you can accept the responses. So generally you want that to have a little check mark there, but let's say you had a deadline and you don't want students to be submitting anymore, you can unclick that and students will not be able to access the form anymore. Another way you can set up if you want students to answer within a certain time period is you can have start and end dates. So if you click on the start date, the check mark will pop up and you'll see two things. You'll see a start date picker, which is the calendar, and then a time. So you pick whatever day you want it to become available to students. So you could have a couple different reasons for this. If you only want students to complete in a certain time frame, or if you just don't want students to be working too far ahead, you can set it up so like they can't access it until a certain day comes. This is really going to be your choice, but you pick whatever day. Let's say I wanted them to do it on Sunday, and I didn't want them to start before 11 a.m. You'll notice on the times, though, it's only every half hour. It does not let them do every 15 minutes, so just be aware of that. If you want them to be finished in a certain amount of time, then again, you need to put the end date, you pick the day, you pick the time, and they will have to complete it where they've started it in between those times. You need to be very clear with your students if you're going to decide to do this. This is something I would probably use if I chose to give them a summative to try to attempt to mitigate cheating. Let's be real here, if you're going to give them a summative using this, it's going to be very possible that they're going to be communicating with each other. So just be aware that cheating might still happen anyway. Below the start and end date, you have an option to shuffle the questions. So this is going to shuffle the questions themselves, not the answer choices. I already showed you in the video on creating the questions how to shuffle the answer choices. This is moving like question one to a different part of the test or of the assignment. You have two choices here. You can shuffle all the questions, which is fine if you don't need a certain order between several questions. But let's say you really, really needed questions 1, 2, and 3 to be in that specific order. Then what you can do is you can lock questions. And you will go and whichever questions you want locked in that order, you will simply type in 1 through whatever, and those questions are locked in that order. The thing is, it doesn't really let you lock more than one set of questions. So if you're going to have multiple different portions of your formative or summative, where you're going to need several different questions to be in a very specific order, I would just put them all next to each other so you can lock that whole big block all together, and then you can shuffle all the others in the answer choices or for the rest of the form. After that, you have customized thank you message. So this is what's going to pop up on the screen when the students hit the submit button. So let's say you want them to know certain information about this particular assignment. So for instance, you can write, if you see this, this means I have received your work. Please work on whatever the next thing. Or you can let them know that you will put the solutions to this on ManageBack at a certain day and time, if that's something you wanted to do so that they could get feedback on answers. You can also tell them, in order to receive feedback, go to ManageBack and look at the comments for this task, so that you can provide feedback in that way as well. The other possibility is if you had decided to make this part at the top where it says option for quiz green, then what will happen is it will show them all of the answers to their questions along with what they selected, so they can get that automatic feedback right away as well. Below, at the very, very bottom, below where it has the customized thank you message, you have notification. Now, if this one where it says send email receipt to respondents, this is not going to work if students do not have a Microsoft account with the school. So basically, it's just not going to be an option for our students. But below that where it says get email notifications of each response, you can select that if you want to get an email every single time a student actually submits something on this form. I would not recommend having that selected if you've recently given the assignment. So if you anticipate that all 100 of your students are going to be answering these formatives in the next couple days, we're being optimistic, okay? I know some of you, like Imran, are probably thinking they're not going to be doing it, but let's say they actually do. You don't want to be getting 100 emails. But this is a great option if the assignment has kind of come and gone, but you want to still give students the ability to continue to try to do the assignment who have turned it in super late, but you know that you're not going to be checking this very often. So if you select this maybe a week, 2 weeks later, then you can get an email notification so that you know when it could actually submitted it and you don't forget to check. But generally, I don't check that. I don't have that clicked because I don't want a million emails. The next thing is to actually share the summative with your students. So if you go and you click on the button that says share, you want to make sure that this has anyone with the link can respond. Now, it's not letting me click that. I don't know why right now. Maybe the school is changing settings or it could be an internet issue, who knows. But for our students at this point in time, we want to have that one selected. Anyone with the link can respond. And then you go to copy. You're going to copy this link. This is what you're going to be putting into ManageBack on your tasks or in your message or wherever it is you communicate to students how they're going to be doing work for this class. Basically, I usually just put a message like, to complete this formative, click on the link and you will be able to do the work there, or something along those lines. It also gives you the option to be able to email people the link. I just don't use that. You can embed it in a website and you can use a QR code, but really, honestly, the link copy itself is going to be the most useful. Another thing that might be useful here is if you're working with other people in the department who are teaching the same class, you can divvy up the work for making these formatives. So if you already decided that one person's going to be making formatives for the first 3 lessons of the unit, and the next person's going to be making formatives for the next 3 lessons of the unit, Then once you've each made whatever forms you're going to make, you're going to go to share as template. You're going to click on where it says get a link to duplicate, and you're going to copy that link. And what you're going to do is you're going to take that link and you can send it in email or Teams or however you want. And it's going to look like this. I used Teams for Algebra 2 to do this recently. And I put the link on there so that people, all they have to do is they click on the link, or if you receive it from someone else, you click on the link. And it's going to open up the form. At the very top, it says duplicate it. You're going to click on duplicate it. And it will look like this. It'll change the title, so it'll say copy. So you might want to go and like delete that because it just looks bad in my opinion. And then basically now you have a copy that is in your forms. And so when you go and share the link with your students, the data from the student responses is not going to be mixed with you and the other teachers. It's only going to be for your students in your class. The other thing I want to mention that I forgot to put in the questions video is it's generally a good idea to put a short answer of name and student ID and to make it required, because if we do not have Microsoft emails for all of our students to use, it is not going to record their name or their student ID automatically. So you need to require them to type that in so that you know who actually did their work. So that's another thing you need to take into consideration. The last thing is if you want to be able to preview and see like exactly what your students are going to see when they're making these forms, what you're going to do is you're going to click on where it says preview, and this is what your students are going to see. Now, right now it's on the computer mode. You can also see what it looks like if they're using your cell phone. So it is an option for students to do these on their phones. I wouldn't recommend it, but they can do it if they want. Like, let's say their parents are being stingy with a laptop or something. So that's all you need to know as far as sharing. The next video is going to go over how to look at what the students have submitted so that you can grade and provide feedback.